This episode is brought to you by Muntins Malts, a company that is passionate about providing premium malts to brewers worldwide. For over a century, Muntins has been a leading supplier of brewing and distilling malts, offering the finest British malted barley on the market. You can experience the difference Muntins offers by joining a recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club, because every kit that ships out now includes premium Muntins malt. You know, we've known the Muntins crew for a long time, and I can tell you, friend, you're going to love brewing with their grains. Ask your local supply shop to carry Muntins malts, or homebrewers can pick up some right now online at txbrewing.com. Join our Trub Club at homebrewhappyhour.com/club, be a part of the community, and come brew with us. Thank you, Muntins, for supporting our efforts and homebrewers worldwide. Today's show is brought to you by hopsdirect.com. Grown in the esteemed Yakima Valley on the Pewterball family farm, hopsdirect.com offers the widest variety of hops available online at incredibly competitive pricing. It's simple. They grow hops, they sell hops, and they ship hops straight from their family-owned farm to your doorstep. Producing the highest quality hops is hopsdirect.com's passion, and they're proud to be an independent grower in the craft beer industry. Go to hopsdirect.com right now and get what you need to make your brew day better. That's hopsdirect.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Wort chiller configurations, ideal features, and electric brewing systems. Is HERMs brewing worth it? And fermenting and serving from the same keg. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 327. Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com. Click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call, leave a voicemail, get yourself a $25 gift card to 325-305-6107. I'm one of your co-hosts, Joshua Stewing, joined as always by the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com down there, Mr. James Carlson, as well as the President and Chief Keg Washer of kegconnection.com, the smiling but off-centered Mr. Todd Burns. There he is. Hey, now he's centered. Gentlemen, how goes it? How are things?
Good.
Todd, I'll start right from the top with relevant small talk, just because you just had lunch there. When I was up there Monday, Tuesday, and we were spending some time at this local restaurant there in town. Is it El Tapatio or I forgot what the name of it is, actually. I think it's El Tapatio.
Yep, that's it.
And we were eating there. It's delicious food, but also y'all did a draft beer install there very recently. Where I want to talk about that, but first I want to talk about how we were one of the first customers in there for that day. It was that their actual grand opening day, James, or was the day before their grand opening? I forget.
Their soft opening was Sunday evening, and then their regular opening was Monday.
Okay, so we were there Monday, and we were there around lunchtime. Y'all were testing the taps and all that, just making sure everything would be good at launch. And so we sit down, or we get seated at a table, and our waitress, she's a nice girl, but we're like, she's like, what can I get y'all a drink? And you're immediately like, we'd all like a beer. And so we order our beer, and like 5 minutes later, She comes back with bottles. She, I guess we didn't specify to the waitress we wanted draft beer. In her defense, maybe she didn't know that the taps were fully functioning because y'all put the seal of approval that same moment we were there, like, testing them and all that, making sure they're ready. But anyways, we got that. We went back later that evening anyways after work, and it was pouring great. Everything came out good. I will say I had a, not Michelob, Modelo. Had a Modelo.
A regular Modelo.
Yeah, regular Modelo, but I've never had it dressed with salt and lime. And I grabbed my lime off the rim and I knocked a bunch of salt off into the beer and made a mess. I learned what salt does to beer that day, James. It was a science experiment for me.
Breaks out.
It was like Mentos and the Diet Coke.
Mentos and Sprite, right?
No, or Coke or Diet Coke, one of those. Or maybe it's just all soda.
Too.
Maybe it's just all soda. But it was a volcano, and I'm over there like an idiot, like trying to
Diet Coke.
I was having to suck foam off for like 3 minutes straight without breathing. Anyways, though, let's talk about the install, though. Obviously, they went with flagship V10 faucets from CM Becker, beautifully on display. I think I counted 8, or was there 6? I'm bad at math.
There's 8, yeah. So it's a long draw system, which basically the vast majority of what we do on Keg Connection would be short draw systems, a kegerator, keezer, anything where you're basically coming right out of your cooling system. In a long draw system, you actually have what's called a glycol chiller, and that chills. Glycol will get colder than water. It freezes at a lower temperature than water. So we cool it to 29 degrees, and it's actually going through the lines out and then returning, so that you're keeping the beer cold as it's traveling. And the reason you put it at 29 degrees is not because we want to serve 29 degree beer, but basically that keeps it, because you're trying to keep all these lines cold, that keeps it around where we want it. And between adjusting that and the cooler, where, our goal is to serve between 36 and 38 degrees, which we were there for a while, but when we went there today, because they were having a little foam, their cooler had warmed up to 41 degrees. So, it's funny, but it doesn't matter how complicated the system is. It eventually comes down to pressure, temperature, just like any other beer system. If you serve it too warm, you're going to get some foam, unless you have a lot more restriction. And so that's kind of what it runs into.
I was going to say, your foam video that's very popular, those principles apply not just to the home brewer, but to draft systems in general.
Yeah, the one thing on long draws it's a little different is you got to get the pressure right and on the back, and if you don't, you start getting bubbles coming out of the keg, and you get spurts of bubbles, which you can't control through restriction, because it's just huge pockets of air, and I've actually seen that before, even on regular systems like we use. And the last time I had a major problem with it was actually caused by severe overcarbonation. So it can be caused by multiple things.
Interesting. Was it a keg of Coors? Isn't that one traditionally like super carbonated?
No. So it's a long story, but the real short version is somebody took a regulator apart, put it back together backwards, and they were shooting.
Oh my gosh!
Luckily, the one they were using was a secondary regulator, so it was already regulated some, but they were still putting higher pressure on the beer than you're supposed to, because you're supposed to cap pressure on any beer system. Everything's rated for 60 psi. Luckily for them, everything is over-engineered, and it works at 90 or 100 psi too. But don't try that at home.
No, I won't. I know that was a disclaimer to other people. I would never. Now
Stick
James,
to 12 psi,
or 8
or 16 or whatever your beer asks for.
James, a long draw. I know. First off, like selling the solutions for these setups, you're no stranger to. But actually, like going and doing it, was long draw a headache for like you're first getting your hands real dirty in the like that just seems like to me that seems stressful because what the distance?
No, it wasn't too bad.
What was the distance it was traveling?
30. It was fairly short. It was 30 feet.
Oh my gosh, that's still okay. That you're right. That's not that bad. But those what were they called on the wall? Fobs. Is that if you're doing a long
Foam
draw
over beer detectors?
Is that unique to long draw setups? Like, because obviously,
yeah, because it just helps you save. You get a bigger yield per keg, and then when you run out, you can swap the keg without having to foam up the line.
So it saves it's basically 2 beers on that system, but take 150 foot run and which you would definitely use that larger line, and then now you're I'll let Josh do the math. What's
10 beers?
If it's 25 for 2, Josh. Oh, hey, James,
what?
How can I
12 and a half?
How can I test him if you give the answer?
Oh, I didn't even hear him. I wouldn't even. Oh God, no! James gave the answer, and I wasn't listening. I was
25 times 2
is 50,
and then you've got no. I mean, it's 2 glasses per 25 feet.
Okay,
and it was 150 feet.
Okay, what was that 5?
We could start talking about other stuff if you want to, James. It's
no, what I'm going to do is get the answer. I'm going to stop it here. I'm going to edit me saying the answer in, and then we'll go like, oh, wow, that was good, Josh.
I think it's what is it? 14 beers, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I just said before you said, way to go, Josh. Way to edit that in. It really did come out good. I wanted to bring up the system mostly to tell you guys how much I enjoyed the other end of it, because I wasn't during the install at all. Y'all did all the work and this and that, and I got to go have a free beer because we tried to pay them. James and I tried to pay at the end, and they wouldn't take our money. We only had 1 beer. We weren't taking advantage of it. Honestly, I would have rather not had to pay for some chips and queso. But either way,
it was a big beer.
It was a huge beer.
Huge.
It was. So good job, guys. That was fantastic. And I know it was when y'all do installs, it's always like in partnership with our friends at FOTS, our good friends at FOTS got y'all set up, and I think you're actually going up there soon to do a tech demo, aren't you, Todd?
I am. Yes, I'm going to do some demos. In service is what we call it.
In service,
and then I'm doing the craft brewers trade show with them, and then of course we are doing the homebrew con.
That's
so we
right.
got lots of stuff going on this year.
That's right. And I'll segue that. I don't remember if I have it on the screen. No, I do have it on the screen. It doesn't have the time. We're set that Friday of Homebrew Con, which is the 23rd of June. We're presenting at 1:30 p.m. our talk, Serving Your Homebrew, all about draft beer systems, and it's draft spelled the funny way, Todd. I got to find. Where am I at? There we are. Okay.
Oh, no, I know. Didn't they ask us to do that?
They did. I think the BJCP or whatever their guidelines is for draft spells it the English, the UK way, which they would argue is the proper way. But we're very excited about doing that. Todd and I actually did our whole outline because that was due for them yesterday. Today's Thursday, and so we got that done this week, and I actually am very excited that while we were mapping it, Todd, I was like, it's getting real. I mean, we've done these talks before, but it's always it's always conceptual when you sign up for it, because like, oh, it's 8 months away, and then it gets accepted. Oh, it's 5 months away. Now it's
this one's going to be fun though. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's just a lot of good information, and I think basically we'll tell people the vast majority of what they need to know in 40 minutes. What do we have? 45 minutes, and then we have 15 minutes of question and answer, right?
Yeah. And the real, I thought let's just do a 30-minute talk and 30-minute Q&A, but no, we actually have a lot of content to go over. I actually do think we're going to have a lot of questions because it's a subject where they're going to be relying on y'all's expertise of designing systems, installing systems, and all that.
Probably have some listeners there mocking us.
I've already had people reach out like, I'm gonna heckle you, Josh. I was like, joke's on
heckle. That's what I was looking for.
They're like, I'm gonna heckle you. I was like, joke's on you. I wrote myself out of the script. I'm just there to juggle in the corner. It's going to be fun. Again, Homebrew Con, early bird ends at the end of this month. So if you want to go to San Diego, hang out with us, go to homebrewcon.com. You can sign up there.
And we don't want to discourage anybody from going. You don't have to hang out with us. So.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, you're right. You're like, oh, they're going to be there. Yeah, you're right. All-time low attendance for Homebrew Con. When people are like, who's going to be there? Ugh. But anyways, last bit of small talk, and then I'll get us going. Let me make sure. Boom! This month, you have options if you're a recipe-receiving member of our Trub Club. Information available at patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. You get to pick between the delicious Unterdrück German Pilsner or a Yellow Rose IPA clone. That's a big beer here in Texas. And they, hold on. Let me go back to the Zoom screen. Do what you were doing. Yeah, he was... Put it back on here.
It's so good.
It's a Mosaic Smash IPA. It is good as far as IPAs go. It's good. Mosaic is one of my favorite hops.
Wait a minute. I'm getting cheated here. I wanted to brew that, and I can't brew right now. That's terrible. You know what? I think I could brew now. I think. Do we have all the stuff for me to brew it?
Yeah. The ingredients are there that you can brew a batch. That is correct.
And we have enough, so I wouldn't be taking.
Yeah. And so the yeast. Has it arrived? Either arrived today or it is arriving today. I don't know if y'all got it.
Seen it.
Okay. By the tracking number, I got tracking, and it said it was arriving today. And then the hops, I believe, are arriving tomorrow. So
it's one of my favorite beers. When I go to a bar and they have it, I always order it.
It's very well known in Texas, for connoisseurs of the IPAs. And again, Mosaic is just a good IPA hop.
It is. And it's such a simple recipe. And for those that are not hop heads, it's not terribly hoppy.
No, it's not. It's
a very flavorful, nice flavor.
It's not. But that Unterdrück is incredible. I just like German Pilsners. You're not going to win me over with anything else unless it's Kolsch. But even then, it's like, oh, okay, it's tomato. They're similar. But I am looking forward to most people. It's almost 50-50, believe it or not. We're sending out this month a lot of recipes, and it's almost half for each. So I'll have my work cut out for me Monday when I ship them out. I was thinking about that. I was like, thank God neither one of these are extremely complicated, because that's when I go slow, when it's like 8 pounds of this and 8
Well, yeah, the IPA should be pretty easy, even for you. I mean, shoot.
Well, they both are, because the Pilsner is just some Pilsen and Carapils. So
it's a smash as well.
It's not, because it has Carapils.
You said that. I'm sorry. Yeah. I was thinking you were saying a hop. Yeah. You said Carapils.
Boss, don't worry. I'll edit that out. I won't let you look stupid on this show. On your show?
No. It's fine. It's fine.
I was lying. Of course I'm going to leave that in.
I know you were.
I said 2 ingredients, and you're like, oh, it's a smash too? No, it's not a smash. Anyway, go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. Come brew with us. You get delicious recipes curated by us, including ingredients from our friends at Munton's Malt, hopsdirect.com, and of course, our longest standing sponsor, Imperial Yeast. We thank those guys for supporting what we're doing here. And we thank everyone in the Trub Club for supporting what we're doing. It means the world to us. So with all that being said, it's time for listener feedback. This week's listener feedback is a message. It was actually in our private Trub Club at facebook.com/homebrew happy hour /super dupers Trub Club or whatever. If you join the Trub Club, you get a link to do it. Our buddy Billy B with some feedback for kegerator maintenance. And he wrote, listen to this week's podcast, and from an HVAC tech standpoint, check the condenser coil is cleaned. That is the coil that is located on the back or under that removes the heat from the bots. The loud compressor could be poor oil return or low refrigerant charge. Turn the thermostat down to 38 degrees Fahrenheit and let it run. That should help pull the oil back. Short cycling can cause oil issues. If turning the thermostat down all the way down and it's not hitting its set point and the compressor is still cycling, it could be a thermal switch failing or cycling because it's hot. Some compressors are just louder than others as well. Also, check your thermostat. There should be about a 1 to 2 degree differential to prevent short cycling. Then check where your thermostat probe is located and make sure nothing else can affect it. Then check your door seals as if hot air is entering in the bots, because it's going to short cycle trying to keep it cool. The laws of thermodynamics are heat goes to cold. And then on low refrigerant, look around for oil stains on the refrigeration piping. Oil stains can be a sign of a minor leak. A system could still run with a minor leak, but will eventually stop. Chances of this is very slim. I have an old kegerator that I leave outside in the summer, and it doesn't cycle that much. And all I really do is clean it and check connections on electrical. As mentioned on the question, there are a lot that can cause the issue, but that is what I would start with. And by the way, James got the basics on a refrigeration system down perfectly. He said you nailed it, James. Yeah, the question we had last week of it was cycling real quick, and we were like, man, like Todd, you even said like, it's not the worst, but that is quicker than usual. So these are good tips for people with I guess actually any refrigerator, but specifically kegerators. Keeping it maintained and all that will prolong the life of your appliance, I think is what we're going for. So Billy, I told him, he left it in the group, and I said, Billy, leave a voicemail. I'll get you $25. And he goes, nope, not going to do it. Not going to do it. So he didn't. But you still get a $15 gift card to Keg Connection, which I think is pretty good. But if you did leave a voicemail to 325-305-6107, you get yourself a $25 gift card like our first question of the show. It's our buddy Zach from Michigan.
Hey, guys. I've called. This is Zach from Michigan. I've called in before about my efficiency of being able to chill my wort with a lot of free access to a lot of ice. I no longer have that access anymore. And so I have 2 copper chillers. And my question is, what would you suggest would be the best way to do this? They're 2 25-footers. Right now I have it set up that one chiller runs into the other one, basically running in a series. And I'm wondering if it would be any more efficient if I were to get a hose splitter from my water source and run fresh water into the 2 of them, having 2 25-foot rather than essentially a 50-foot chiller the way I have it now. My thought is that way you have more colder water contacting the hot wort initially, and you have that bigger temperature difference, or would the one long run of 50 feet be more efficient? Let me know your thoughts now that the weather's starting to warm up here in Michigan. It's going to be a little bit more important to have that temperature difference. It was nice with the freezing water coming out of the tap. So thanks for your thoughts, guys.
Ooh. Yeah, hold on. Before I throw it to you, I had this image because I don't know if y'all remember, he had called in before and he was like, I have like basically free ice and I get it all the time. And I just have this image of like his boss listening to the show and then just cutting that off to him. Like, because that's something you would do to me.
It's funny you said it. I was going to ask if he, I was going to tell him you should be really careful if you have a significant other that has free access to ice, right? So.
Exactly right.
No,
but Todd, I wasn't throw it to you mainly because of the 3 of us. James actually doesn't use immersion like hardly ever. So
no, there's a better reason to throw it to me. I called my dad.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, I called my dad.
Oh, go for
the
it.
show.
Well, take off.
So my father, who is a chemical engineer, retired for almost exactly 30 years now. Can you believe that? He retired when he was 58 and he's 88 now. But I called him and asked him, and he'd started talking about thermal laws. And, the only thing I asked him which law of thermodynamics applied here, and he said that it didn't really apply directly. It came in through the back door. It had to do with, I didn't really understand what he said. But anyway. I asked him if my answer was correct, and he said it was, that if you split it off and had cold water going into both of them, that it would cool it faster than having cold water going to one of them all the way through and then going out, because you got 2 sources of cold water, and the second half would never be as cold as it would that when you split it and put it into the second one. So
whoa, so hear me out. Because the way we do it with immersion, you and I
no, but I'm going to go. I'll get
okay,
to that.
Okay,
I'm not talking about that.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about his question specifically.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
No. I mean, what?
Well, you're right. Well, you're saying I would have changed the subject drastically to where I was just saying because the alternative would be to how we do it, right? Wouldn't that be the other suggestion? Is that, or is the way?
Oh yeah, I thought you were going to comment on the main answer.
No. Well, I'm saying, so let me lay out.
Yeah. So what we do is we put one in ice. I mean, everybody knows that because we talk about it all the time. We put one in ice, and we have one, but he doesn't want to use ice at all.
I got you. You're saying, yeah. Well, the theory being, not the theory, pardon me. The assumption being, because he doesn't have the free access to a lot. You're saying this is a no ice solution that he can.
No ice solution, but I mean, the problem he could run into. He's in an area where I don't know that the water ever gets as hot as it does here, but if you can't ever get it cooler than your water is. Right. You probably can't even get it. Well, you could get it the same temperature, but you'd have to wait a long time. So the other solution, which is what we do, is we put it in a line like he was, but we put ice in a bucket when it gets down to a certain temperature. But we don't put ice in. That may actually be helpful to him. We don't put ice in the one that's in a bucket until we get it below. Maybe James, I go at least below 100 degrees, but lately I've been going down to like 80 degrees because my well water's so cold.
Yeah, and
because if it's going to bring it down to that temperature anyway, why waste the ice? It's not
right. So if you're trying to conserve ice, then you don't put it in the ice bucket until the end. And just in case people don't know what the heck I'm talking about, you go and you have them in a line like he used to. Because he just had unlimited amount of ice, right? and you put it one in the ice bucket, and you put one in the wort, right. And then you can cool it down colder than the water temperature because you cool the water temperature down colder than it is. That was kind of obvious.
Let me verbally diagram this. He's got his water source, which for this sake is the tap, his water supply. It's coming out of there. What we do, it comes out of there into one coil chiller that's in a bucket that then goes from out that input in and then out to the one that's immersed in the wort. And then that one goes out to the driveway or wherever because it's now just water that's dispensed. He's talking about is water supply to a splitter and one independently going to the one that's already immersed in there. Nope, I'm wrong.
What he's talking about is
I'm wrong.
Just putting a splitter on it and putting both of them in the water.
That's okay. Okay, gotcha. That's okay.
And so he's got cold water going into both of them versus he was thinking, well, I'm not going to use ice anymore. I'll just put both of them in there and run it through 50 feet.
Gotcha.
But instead of 50 feet, he's doing 2. It's actually real similar to that other chiller that the person was going to build us for our system.
Oh, Cuss or Jaded, the similar. Build structures.
That's kind of what they're doing. Really, it's the same thing. They're just doing it in a lot more fancy way than throwing both of them in there, but you get the same result.
Okay.
Yeah, they both share the load of cooling that down.
Gotcha. And so if your starting temp, like he's in Michigan, let's say that his temperature is going to be in the 70s, right?
He's saying in the summer it gets a lot hotter than that, is what I understood. But,
I just didn't hear.
I mean, it gets a lot hotter. Maybe 70 is not a lot hotter to him, though.
Right.
To us, 70 is cold.
70 is cold. I agree. Yeah.
In the summer
for us,
right, James?
Yeah.
What is your temp? What is your well water in the summer? Or you don't use well water anymore?
No, but you know what? It was only 30 feet deep. So my well was fairly shallow. So in the summertime, I was shocked at how warm it was.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yours is a lot deeper than that.
Yeah, but it has to go a long ways before it gets to me. So,
James is brewing at the headquarters. What's water typically up there where y'all are at?
In the summertime, I've measured it as warm as 92 degrees. And then in the wintertime, it can be like, right after we got through that cold spell, it was cold. Perfect.
One of the problems with a well, you got to remember too, is you got a pressure tank and then you got all the line. So if your pressure tank is sitting in a little tiny building that's made out of metal, hell, the water coming out of the well at some point is going to be pretty damn hot that was in that pressure tank, right? So
I've got, you know what? I forgot to mention, I didn't realize today was 420. I don't partake, but here's my Hi Josh idea of the week for the stoners who listen to the show. I'm going to get water tap into my bucket chiller, then output to a line splitter into 2 in the Wort, and then I put ice in that bucket. Boom, 3 chiller solution. That's the ideal for down here in Central Texas. There we go.
You sure you don't partake?
Listen, man, that's the best idea I've had in months on this show. You're telling me that that's not a great idea for someone trying to...
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to buy... What do Wort chillers go for right now? But either way, I've got 2 already. I just got to get 1 more. And then I'm set to make a video on, hey guys, welcome back. I'm going to show you my setup. And then later I'll be like 2 buckets that both go into individual ones. It'll be a 4 solution where each bucket has ice, and then those go into, never mind. I'm going too far with this.
So next year we should just do the show on 420 where we're just standing in a line, passing a joint back and forth the whole show.
That's it. The whole show.
We would talk. It'd be kind of like
we'd have to have. Well, y'all would have to come up with great ideas too. That'd be the whole premise of the show. It would just be like new brewing idea. I actually didn't yield any questions about we get them frequently about. Hey man, I want to brew with THC. I've never brewed with. I've never even wanted to. Zach, let me wrap up Zach's question real quick because I think we're done with it. Yeah. What you're describing was certified from a retired chemical engineer that yes, it would be more efficient to do it the way he's describing, where he goes into with a splitter into 2 individual immersion chillers, both in the Wort, is the most efficient way you could do it without ice. Correct, Todd?
Oh, yeah, but I forgot. My dad was very insistent that I mention one other thing about this. He said according to the second law of thermodynamics, if you put both of the chillers in the pot, they will not fall out. That's what he said.
So. Hold on. Okay.
So anybody that knows the second law of thermodynamics will understand that
you
better
can't
than
even
you
say
do,
the
Josh.
word is thermodynamics. You're like thermodynamics. It's thermodynamics.
Yeah, somebody's going to say, no, it's
said.
Entropy. You're not. It has nothing about that. It's entropy.
When I was a kid, the back joke behind that is when I was a kid, anytime I would put like a glass and put it on the side of a table or something, my dad would always go, son, the second law of thermodynamics is that if you put that glass on the ground, it will not fall off. I heard it my whole life. I couldn't wait till I was raising my hand in science class when the teacher asked a question. I'm like, know? I know the answer.
That's hilarious.
Wrong.
God, I love hanging out.
Well, that's what I was told.
Yeah, I love hanging out with your pop. Yeah, like the water boy. Like my mama said.
Mama said.
Mama.
Second law.
Anyway, Zach, thank you so much for submitting that question. I actually forgot where I was going with the 420 stuff, which is on brand with doing a show on 420. But anyways,
exactly.
Anyways, reminder: if and when you do leave us a voicemail like our buddy Zach did, you get yourself a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com, or if you go to homebrewhappyhour.com, use that submit a question link at the top of the page, you still get yourself a $15 gift card like our buddy Travis did, who used that submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Travis wrote, "Hi guys, great show and all of that. I retired from brewing 12 years ago and sold my setup during a move. I discovered your show a couple of months ago and it sparked my passion to want to brew again. I'm sure brewing is like riding a bicycle, but there is so many more options for brewing these days than when I originally started brewing. I'm looking at electric brewing setups now for convenience purposes, and I want to know if you all think a recirculation pump is a must-have feature. As I am sure you know, the pricing spectrum for electric systems goes from the low 300s up to over $1,000. Also, would you be hesitant to purchase second-hand electric systems? My local Facebook Marketplace shows a few listed that I might check out. Thank you for your help and guidance, Travis." It's a great question. And always reminder, James, we got to update. I mean, we actually have the same gear, but I could bring the G40, and you could even talk about the HERMs because that's an electric system. But we need to maybe not do just an electric all-in-one recap, but electric brewing recap. Now, it's years have passed since you made that one video, and we are much more seasoned with brewing electrically than ever before in our history of brewers. So he's probably referring specifically to all-in-ones with his price point, and he said all that. What advice, James, would you give him for his primary question regarding recirculation? Is that
definitely? Yeah, definitely. I think a mashing bowl now, you can get them with a pump. Anvil's got a pump. Pretty much a pump standard on most systems now. Please get a pump because you're going to get more efficiency out of your grains. Some people will say, well, it's like brewing a bag. You just steep it and then squeeze it and rinse it. But I like a pump.
I was going to say the only refutation I've ever heard about not recirculating is from brewing a bag people. A buddy has said he got a real cheap mash and boil, like the first gen one, for like $170, something just dirt cheap, right? It's just a kettle, basically. Right. And so he uses the brew bag, like that branded trademark, the brew bag, and like it's the easiest thing. I don't need recirculation because it's just steep.
Yeah, but see, the second thing, or probably most people would say the first thing important about recirculation, what does it do? It keeps the temperature consistent from top to bottom because it's continuously circulating through the grain bed. So that makes a big difference too in profile and body.
Yeah, no, and I'll say I have noticed the Kolsch we did, like I love the cooler brew, right? I love the cooler brew for how simple it is. I love the cooler brew for how affordable it is. It's not electric brewing. It's igloo style brewing, which someone later talks about them doing that as well. The only thing I've noticed is the Kolsch I did on there in years past and the ones I'm doing on electric brewing, specifically the G40 from Grainfather, the body is so much better on the G40. Like it is noticeably different, the mouthfeel, and and it's the same recipe. So I'm assuming that has something to do with the method of mashing, because everything else is the same. The hop schedule during boil, the boil time, the yeast I'm pitching's been Dieter for longer than I can remember. So everything else being the same, I assumed the mash style had to be it. And that's probably why that's a standard feature for most all-in-ones now, right? Like that's why
you can dial in the. I mean, if you're wanting to hit that point, if you're in beta, I'll recirculate at 148 degrees, and then if you want a little bit of body at the end, then you can bump up to 159 degrees and get in your alpha range. And without recirculation, it'd be hard to do that. You'd have to do. You'd have to take temperature of the wort. You would have to look at how much volume you have, and then you'd have to find a calculator that tells you how much of volume of this temperature of water can you infuse. Then space is an issue too. I just think circulation is the only way to go because you can monitor, you can change, you can go up on mashing tips. It's just a good thing to have.
It is. I was prepared when I saw the question, I took it. I was prepared to tell Travis, like, well, right now you might actually just have to settle for what you can find, because I was still in like that last couple year COVID brain of, remember when everything was short, like you couldn't find a foundry if your life depended on it. Grainfather had supply issues, everybody did. But now I did a little bit of homework before we started recording. No, everyone's in stock everywhere. So with that in mind, the assumption that he can probably get any of the most common brand names available, the pricing spectrum does vary. Do you think the bells and whistles of like the Grainfather are worth it over the price point of like the RoboBrew or Mash and Boil? James, I'll ask you.
Yeah. I think the last time we looked, you're talking about in regards to just all-in-ones that have a pump?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think the Mash and Brew was about the best price.
Bang
but I
for the
haven't looked
buck
in a while.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I will say, as someone who uses the 10-gallon version of the Grainfather, the G40, it's pricey. It's pricey, but man, is it nice having it kind of hold your hand. So I would throw my vote in for that. But he also mentions, Todd, about secondhand units. I've never bought appliances or anything secondhand. Are you weary at all of buying stuff secondhand, or is there something? Yeah, as long as it works when you go to pick it up, that's all you care about. I mean, what are some tips for?
Yeah, I don't have any. I mean, I buy things secondhand.
Well, even appliance stuff like this. Oh, okay. Because I mean, you would imagine you can't fake a unit working to show it off to try to sell it. It's either going to work or it's
yeah.
not.
I mean, it depends on if they're going to let you fire it up and run through everything. I mean, it would take some time if you're shopping for, if you're buying one used. It's not like a fridge where you turn it on, either comes on or it doesn't. I mean,
Travis,
of course, if it comes on, it may not be cooling, but you hear the compressor come on and
maybe
it's too loud.
Travis should make these people do a brew day with him before he decides to buy the first.
Yeah,
that's. We've actually, not joking, we've done that with people who bought the Brautag and came to pick it up. On the controller. We're like, we're going to prove to you that this unit works and that it's not only working, but it works great. And here teaching them at the same time how to use it. That's the most highly received feedback I've gotten on Brautag sales is people that did come to brew with us on it and saying like, holy moly, this actually one of them, I think it was our buddy Daniel who left the feedback in the review section at kegconnection.com. But basically just like the whole experience, I cannot believe like they walked me through my literal first brew day. Like nobody does that. I was like, well, everybody should start doing that. If I were to buy something on Facebook Marketplace, I'm going to request that. Like, so what are we brewing before I buy this? But anyways, I'll wrap up Travis's question so we can keep moving on. I think this is one where your budget is probably going to play the biggest factor. If you've got it in your budget, I will tell you, I think units like the Grainfather or even like Clawhammer, they're all pricey, but look at the features they have. To me, a man who, what's the nice way of saying lazy, who time efficient, or well, I forget the word. They works out. I love it. It's great. It's not just holding your hand like you're not actually brewing. It's just there to remind you, hey, time's coming up for your first hop edition or this or this or that or that. That's cool to have at your fingertips in an app. But if you don't need all that or bells and whistles, the Robo Brew, I think with the pump is like 600 or like $579, and same with the mash and boil. There are much more affordable options out there. So this is also one where we solicit feedback at homebrewhappyhour.com or 325-305-6107 if you have any input for people shopping for electric all-in-ones or just any electric brewing. How'd you do it? How are you feeling about your decision? What do you wish that you maybe, I got this, but I wish I would have gotten that. Any of that would be appreciated. Or in the comments below. That's my favorite place, because when you comment on our YouTube video, it helps the algorithm spread Homebrew Happy Hour all over the place. So Travis, thank you so much for submitting that question. Moving on to our third question of the show. It's a voicemail from our buddy Chris from Ohio.
Hey y'all, I love the show and all that you do. My name is Chris and I'm from Marysville, Ohio. I've been brewing for nearly 10 years and still find that I learn something new nearly every episode, so thanks for that. That being said, I've been brewing on pretty much the same 10-gallon boil kettle and Home Depot mash tun for all that time, with a few quality of life improvements over the years. Heard you all rave about the Brautag, but at nearly $5,000, it's hard for me to imagine ever having the funds for such a system or being able to justify the purchase if I did. I'm at a point where I'm brewing pretty good beer, joined a local homebrew club, and have even won a few medals in local competitions. So my question is, will the Brautag or a system like it help make me a better brewer, or is it simply a quality of life thing and I shouldn't be trying to fix what isn't broken? Appreciate your insight. Thanks again. Bye.
He's asking the most biased question that we could possibly.
How do I answer that?
Hold on, I've got my late night infomercial voice. Well, Chris, let me tell you, if you act now, no, it is. I mean, listen. People who are brand new to the show, let me give you context. The Brautag, the signs behind Todd right there, that's our system. That's our baby. James and Todd developed it for years before production, before we then got the stuff in. It is a labor of love. Of course, it's worth it. And not just because it's not only worth it because we sell it. The reason Todd and James went with a HERM system, because guys, y'all could have developed an all-in-one. You could have developed a bunch of other solutions. And we actually,
we did bring in some all-in-ones that I think they all come from the same factory, and looked at developing one because you make changes to them.
Exactly, but my point being,
we didn't.
But my point,
and it would have actually been more money to do the all-in-ones than it was to do the HERMs three vessel setup.
And before I throw it to you, I bring that up just because y'all purposefully went with the HERM system after doing research, homework, and y'all using other HERM setups, whether it was
we brewed on one for a long time before we developed one,
right? And a commercial one, as in one from a big brand, and then you made one out of some other kettles, and James made the controller and all that. So y'all did your homework. So Todd,
when he says he basically means James. Just
well, you did, but you did
group effort.
But you did more than I did, and I take
a
lot of credit for Broad Talk. I'm like, I did the sign, like that basically.
Gosh, is that my new? That's what I'm shooting for. Is I did more than Josh did.
Yeah. Yeah, every day, let's do a check-in at 5 p.m. of who did what. You'll be like, did more than Josh again. That's my boss.
Yeah, I mean, you basically could have had a brow tag by now.
I know.
I think maybe you're just too lazy to actually set it up when you get home.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. But with all the context, because again, and longtime listeners, don't roll your eyes when we answer the question. You're like, of course they're going to support the brow tag. But Todd, start off with why was it?
Well, I mean, his question was, will I brew better beer, or does it just make life easier? So let me address that first. I think that what it would allow you to do is brew beer more consistently. So if you develop a recipe and you have a recipe you really like, it's very, very repeatable. And sometimes it's a little harder to repeat on other systems. Although an electric all-in-one, if you do everything exactly the same, is fairly repeatable. It gets pretty hard to consistently repeat an exact beer on some systems, particularly if you're doing it on a kettle on the stove kind of a thing. And I think that or even the cooler brew to some extent, it can be difficult to exactly do the same thing and get exactly the same results, which is what I love about our system, the brow tag, is that once we develop a beer, we can brew it again and again, and it's very consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, James, throwing it to you, because you are also. I know Todd would say it's all your credit, but y'all did have a discussion of which way do we want to take this brewing, and y'all both agreed HERMs was the way. What was the thought process?
Yeah, because the main reason is you have controllability of your temperature range. So if you want to go old school, and let's say that you've got your hands on some unmodified malt from Europe. Well, you have to do the dough in, and then you have to do the protein rest. And then, there's lots of steps that you have to make in the mashing profile. Well, if you've got a temperature controlled recirculating mash, then you just spin a knob on that controller and watch it change. So that was the biggest thing, is versatility of temperature. And it's a lot harder to do step mashing with a grain bag in a cooler, because you only have so much volume in that. So you have to be able to offset the temperature with more hotter water to the wort. And the only way you can do that is you have to either make room for that ahead of time and plan for that on the batch size, or actually remove some wort, possibly heat that up, and then introduce it back over the top, stir it real good, and get that temperature change you need. With a HERM system, you just turn a knob, and it's circulating through a water bath that's controlled with the temperature controller and an element, and the wort flows through that. The heat transfer is taking place, dumps it back into the mash tun, and you see temperatures go up. It's really easy to recreate. Todd's exactly right. So if you have your notes and you do it a certain way, you can repeat that just with the temperature control that you do have with a brow tog or a 3-vessel HERM system.
And we actually have 3 unique videos at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour. One of them was a presentation we did at HomebrewCon 2021 online, talking about brewing on a HERM setup. Then we also have the official Brautag instructional for people who are interested in buying it or did buy it, where y'all go through all the, y'all walked them through everything. Then we actually had a live stream we did with Daniel when he came to pick it up, that also y'all go through it. So there's a lot of content on our channel for people who are actually interested in like the nitty gritty of HERMs and if it's for them. Now, again, I think the biggest barrier is the price point for a lot of people. And
it's huge.
When you compare, like, it's not just the Brautag. They're all expensive when you get to 20-gallon kettle sizes. And the controller's the meat and potato of it, right? And the pumps. I mean, everything adds up. But for Chris, Todd, I made an executive decision. I brought back the DIY and I put it back at $14.95.95. So that way, price cannot be the barrier to this weekend. You can it was popularly received, this question. I was like, well, I'll show you price. You have to get a controller, so that will bump that 14. Like, you don't have to get it from us. Our DIY, which ships out for $9.95, so it's really $15.08 and some change or whatever. That is the most affordable you'll ever find a HERMs type setup, where all you need to bring to the table is a controller. If you find
a cheaper one, Josh personally guarantees this and will refund the difference out of his own pocket.
I almost want to make a $5 bet.
The other thing I would mention, though, is that if you're brewing really good beer and you've won contest and you're using what you're using and it works for you, then that's great. I wouldn't sit here and tell somebody, you brew. I mean, I've never won a contest.
It's true. Not even Cold Shot.
It would be helpful if I entered one, but
it's like the lotto. You got to play it to win it, right?
That's right. But it sounds like he brews really good beer
already. Yeah.
And I think he would get a hell of a kick out of brewing on it. But if he brews really good beer and he doesn't want to invest that much money, then he's
going to be disappointed, I think.
Yeah, keep brewing beer.
Right. Well,
that's the most important
nice
thing.
Guy Todd brought the train to the station before I could. I was going to bring you around and be like, with all that being said, like we've said before on the show, what's working for you, you should stick with it. But you took all that out. You left me with the sell, buy. And then you were like, no, but if you're brewing good. But I will say this, one more selling point. A lot of us we romanticize our brewing adventure, and one day I'm going to be a commercial brewer. HERMs will get you prepared for that process. I will say it's the most.
It is very close.
It's the most translatable. That's what I mean.
Well, there's only one person here that's brewed on a commercial system, James.
What do you think, James?
Yep.
Is it translatable? The knowledge of HERMs brewing to
I think so. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that we were doing with I think it was a 10 barrel. And I could follow along with what he was doing.
Well, I was talking about when you actually brewed beer at Teddy's on the huge.
No, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, when we were doing.
Oh, that was a 10 barrel.
That's a 10 barrel. Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was bigger than that. Wow.
If you remember, he met us at the Brow, and we actually went with him, and he looked at vendors making that equipment, and we kept trying to talk him into a 20 barrel, and I think it was. There was a huge difference in price. I could be wrong, but I know that we did 700 pounds of grain that day, crushed it by hand. Not by hand. He had a big grinder that came with the machine. But I remember, I think I sent you guys text pictures of all the grain bags stacked open and full.
Yeah.
And it was fun. It was a lot of work. It was 8 o'clock that morning all the way till like 11 o'clock that night. But it was the very first brew. We did an amber ale. It was a lot of fun.
And it takes, how long does it usually take you to brew now, James? On the
5 hours.
About 5 hours. That was exactly what I was going to say. I may be fudging a little bit with some cleaning afterwards, but
yeah.
What's that?
So a lot of times I end up soaking things, and then I got to come back and put everything up the next day or whatever, So, but that didn't take too long.
I will say too, digressing because that's what I do. Congratulations to Teddy's. They just sold. They got bought. Dallas Brewery brewery? I mean, a brewery, or is it Abilene or where? I forget.
I don't think it's officially been announced yet.
Oh, so I got to cut that now. Well, it was on their Facebook. What do you mean? They put it on.
Who bought them?
No, they just, well, that's all I got my info from was their Facebook post.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. If I have to cut that, I'll cut that.
No, you don't have to cut it. I'm just saying I don't think it's been officially announced who bought them and where they're going to be.
Oh, I'm pretty sure the Facebook post said it.
Okay, well, pull up Facebook and set it straight.
My computer's doing all this stuff. You're right. I'll look it up, but I'm not. Wrapping up Chris's question, as much as infomercial Joshua came out today, we do believe in the brow tag. And electric brewing is phenomenal if you have the means of doing it. But yeah, it's a budget killer. So, but like Todd said, ultimately the point is you're already brewing good beer. It doesn't seem like you need to change much. Like, and with that caveat too, I don't think Todd would even make the claim the brow tag will help you or will make you brew better beer as much as it enables you to brew your good beer consistently every time. That's the true selling point, is consistency. That's what impresses me about craft breweries, is consistency. When I can get Real Ales, Fireman's 4 in San Marcos on draft, or if I go wherever out of the state and get it on draft and it's the exact same, that's what we're saying HERMs setups enable you to do. They can help you brew the same good beer consistently. So if that's a selling point for you, great. But I really did put the DIY on sale for $1,500 this weekend only. So anybody who wants to go to kegconnection.com, it'll be on the homepage.
You can put the brow tag on sale too.
Yeah, tell me a price.
It's full retail right now.
It is full retail. You tell me.
I thought we had. I actually thought we were going to keep it lower than that.
No. It was on a sale price, and then the HERMs, the DIY and it were on sale, and I just put the DIY kit on.
Yeah.
You tell me after this what price, and I'll.
All right, we'll talk afterwards because we got to check with James.
Okay.
He looks nervous down there.
Oh crap! You're right. I'm pushing this thing that James is gonna have to make. Oh, I'm so sorry, dude.
James, why don't you train Josh on how to make those?
Oh, I couldn't learn.
Oh,
Ask my dad. I can't even hold the flashlight right.
That's what I say to people when I don't want to do it.
Yeah, I need to straight up.
Oh no, you don't want me cleaning that. I would make a mess.
Yeah, I would make a mess. That is, the bless your heart equivalent to handyman stuff. Anyways, Chris, thank you so much for submitting that question. Final reminder, when you leave a voicemail to 325-305-6107, you get yourself a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. Or if you text that same number, like our last question did, from our buddy Ed V, you still get a $15 gift card, which again, I think is pretty good. And Ed wrote, "Tell me everything I need to know about fermenting and serving from the same keg. As a longtime bottler, I want to take advantage of every possible thing I can if I switch to kegging. Do you sell a kit that includes what I need? Cheers." Not yet, but it's a great idea for us to make a kit. We do have the components, and they are listed separately.
Well, I mean, one of the most important ones we don't have is a floating dip tube.
Oh, good. You're right. No, good point. Which the floating dip tube isn't like, if you don't have a floating dip tube, you have to take the dip tube out, cut it an inch and a half, 2 inches up from where the bend.
Yeah, you want to keep it out of the tube.
You got to keep it out of the, what was it? The trub. Yes. And you, but you do, you're right. Because I was thinking, because that's what we've done before when people, dry hop frequently.
And you could also pressure ferment too, as long as you use the splending valve, which we have those.
Yeah. So give them a breakdown real quick, because I'm all over the place, James. What is involved when you want to ferment and serve from the same vessel?
Well, you got to have a floating dip tube because you want to be out of the gunk at the bottom of the keg. If you don't have a floating dip tube, you can still run into issues of collecting particulates when it's drawing through that tube, the pickup tube. Even if you cut in a 1/2 to 3/4 inch off the bottom to keep it out of that mucky area, there's still, liquid moving into that tube that can take and pick up. You could be drafting cloudy beers all day long and you would never pick that up until it's nearly empty. Number 2, you'd have to have a splending valve, or you would have to have another lid that you can put a bubbler on. And once you have that, I mean, you could do pressure fermenting with a splending valve, set your pressure at 10 pounds, and then you could pressure ferment lagers. You could have your floating dip tube, chill it down. A lot of times with what we've run into with pressure fermentation is a good bit of the beer is already carbonated.
Yeah.
So it's just a top off. But you would want to do a set and forget with one of those setups, because you don't want to shake that to carbonate it, because you're just going to disturb all that junk at the bottom of the keg. And it'll take a good while for it to clarify.
You're right. So we do. Yeah. If you, the recommended way, like James said, we might as well just get the spunding valve and do it pressurized. But we do have those lids that have the
It's got a hole drilled for
the hole drill
for
the bung. Thank you, bung. Like I should forget that word. I love saying bung. It's funny. But we have for airlocks. That's what goes in a bung for the airlock. I was like, why am I blanking on that word? But with which people we sell those, not a ton, but probably because we need to make a kit. Todd, we need to make the fermenting in a keg kit.
Well, we had that for a long time. We had that lid, but I don't know if it's still on the website. Is it?
It should be. I can't look it up unless I did on my phone.
I don't think it's on there anymore.
Yeah. Well, it'll be by the time people are listening.
Oh, no, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. It is on there. It's called the fermenting lid.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all you need.
Right. But I'm saying that we should make a kit
for the fermenting side. Yeah.
Right. On the fermenting side, we should make a kit that would, like James said, we could get floating dip tubes in, and we could show how to install that on the post. And then using a spunding valve is very straightforward. Or you don't have to use a spunding valve during fermentation. You could use that lid with the airlock in it and do it unpressurized. And then that is basically it. I mean, then you're all in one vessel. I remember, I think they still sell it. Blickman had that cornicle. Remember that little engineered thing they had, where they went a step further to where they put it in a structure thing that you could actually dump, I think, from it before serving. But it's very expensive, and it's a proprietary keg and all that. We're talking about if you're a standard run-of-the-mill corny keg, ball lock or pin lock, and using that as an all-in-one vessel. Are you on board?
You know what? I'm sorry. This just hit me out of nowhere, James. Hopefully you didn't say it 2 minutes ago. What if you're talking about having a cutoff dip tube. What if you had both? What if you had a long dip tube and a short and a cutoff dip tube, and you use the long one to kind of get some of the crap out of the bottom, so you're not always right on over the top of it. Just have it, and then sanitize the shorter one, take that one out, slip it in, and then you're above that and dispense that way. That would probably work.
You'd have to use one of I think K Connection has a lid with a fitting on it.
What I'm talking about is
replacing
the long dip tube, because we sell them pretty cheap because we have a lot of used ones. So if you had one that went all the way to the bottom, and when you're finished, you kind of pull all that crap off the bottom, and then you put the shorter one in, and it's still some stuff's still gonna settle down. But one of the problems I've always found with a short dip tube is that because we use them sometimes because we keg something and it's not quite settled and we let it cool in the keg. But the problem I always run into with it is whatever sediment there is, you're always just kind of right above that. You get some of that sediment out and then you're right above it. So it sometimes still sucks a little bit in. Now, that might work. I've never fermented in a keg, so I've never run into it.
I know it's 420, but you, in your scenario, you wouldn't need the longer one ever. What purpose would it serve in your scenario?
So what I'm saying is when all that sediment settles down on the bottom, then you have the short dip tube, and your idea is you're going to be above the sediment. Well, if you're fermenting in your keg, there's going to be more sediment than what you can account for with a short dip tube. So if you put the long one in, you purposely suck all the sediment out as far down as the long one goes. Then you put the short one in, and whatever settles over the next few days goes way below that dip tube, and you're not inadvertently sucking stuff up as you're going.
You don't think the first part of it, the sucking up, would totally clog the post and you'd have to just keep disassembling it?
Well, you definitely wouldn't want to do it through your flow control faucet. You just blow it off with a, like a
party faucet or like
party faucet or you could do it with your flow control faucet, but you don't want to leave it all the way open.
I just meant if you're purposely bringing up trub, it's going to clog the post. I'm not even talking about the faucet. It's going to clog the post. And that's going to be
you're going to, even with a short dip tube, if you ferment in the keg.
Right, which is why James' initial thing was you got to have a floating. Like he's basically saying.
Well, the floating would work good. I understand the floating, but I'm just, You
just took a hit off the bong and gave a Josh Stubing cringe idea. I love it. This is the best episode ever.
Thank you.
Then we're going to have a third long one. It's going to go past the butt. Yeah, Todd's over there. Anyway, but Ed made such a good point. We should make a kit. Let's source some floating dip tubes and give it a try. See how popular that would be, because it's not like we couldn't drive traffic to it and see if there is a desire for it. People in our community of homebrewers are either the engineer types that have elaborate systems and this and that, and everything has its own purpose, or they're the engineer kind of MacGyver types that are like, how can I make this as easy and straightforward as possible? I know. And there'll even be people who follow up with this, like, I brew in my keg and then I chill in my keg and then I ferment.
I've talked to people that do that.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So like
they brew in their keg, really?
Didn't we have a question like that on one episode where he was like, I want to take the rubber off the bottom and heat it up to where I can actually...
so he can put it on a bar.
Next time we're drinking around the campfire, we should brew a batch in a keg. I've got one over there that doesn't have a bottom on it.
Okay.
We'll stick it in the campfire and we'll brew in the keg. Okay. Let's do it.
I love it. Absolutely. I can't wait.
We'll do a smoked porter.
A smoked porter.
There you go.
Anyways, this is great. Another question that would solicit some great feedback in the comments, or call it in as a voicemail to 325-305-6107. Gentlemen, that's all I have for this week's episode. I greatly appreciate y'all's time. I'm going to be back up there again Monday through Wednesday because I got to get these Trub Club kits out the door, and then we'll do some other planning on.
How do I do it so you make my kit while you're doing that? Do I just put it in an order?
Wait, are you doing the yellow rose? Is that what you want me to make?
Yeah, I want to do the yellow rose.
But you have to do the scaling. I'm not doing the math because yours is a 17.5 gallon.
Yeah, I think okay. We didn't scale down that recipe. That was a different recipe.
Correct. We scaled down a different one that you made.
3.5 times is hard. I know. Yeah.
If you want me to make it, you have to comply.
Okay, I will.
All right, guys, y'all have a great rest of your week. I'll see y'all soon.
Bye.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or call and be Todd's best friend and get yourself a $25 gift card when you leave a voicemail at 325-305-6107. Thank you to our sponsors like Munton's Malt, premium grains for a better brew day. If you aren't already brewing with Munton Malt, give them a try by visiting txbrewing.com or join our Chub Club at a recipe receiving level. For the best hops available online, give our friends at hopsdirect.com a visit and pick up what you need for your next brew day. Also, get a pack of Imperial yeast along with premium recipes from us when you join the Trub Club. Go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thanks for listening.